Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Software. Today I'm going to do a disassembly for repair and maintenance on this Phylax MK18. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, because those interactions help me get seen by the YouTube algorithms and that helps the channel grow. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, drop by my socials that are on my Linktree link down below in the description. Make sure to stop by my Discord particularly and say hello. I'm quite active on there. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, the join button is down below. That will take you to channel memberships. 99p a month. Custom videos, giveaways, a little bit more say in the channel, a little bit more direct contact with me, that kind of thing. Totally optional. Really appreciated if you guys do that. So we'll get started then. I've put a link to the unboxing for this down below in the description. And likewise, that video will now have a link to this disassembly as well, so that people can switch and change to have a look through. So I've got the Phylax MK18. I found it a bit meh. In general, so we're going to have a look and see what's going off with this then. So the magazine will get out of the way. I've already taken the plate off at the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this little grub screw out of here. So we're probably going to need, I'm going to try the Torx 6. Now it is a hex head screw, but I typically, there we go, I typically find that I prefer to, wow, look at that, it was barely even in there. Okay, so that's a negative thread, so I should, yeah, so a negative thread then, what would normally be the way that we loosen that off is actually how we tighten it and vice versa. So that's come off. There's a little sort of compression spring and a little retaining loop on there. Oh, it's actually a rubber O-ring. Now I'm not going to take this off. The owner's asked me to not go that far, but basically these three bolts here, and this handguard will come off. This back plate is held in place then by the barrel unit. Barrel nut. You remove the gas block, remove the barrel nut, and then the outer barrel will come off. But it is just a bog standard airsoft AR body underneath. Okay, so that's that part done. Put them out of the way. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the upper off. So we need a slightly bigger Torx. Is it 20? Too big. 15. So Torx 15. So using Torx again, because even though it is a hex head bolt or Allen key bolt, the hex heads tend to not round them out. They tend to grip a little bit better and nicer. So I'm going to put that out of the way a second. I'm going to use a very thin screwdriver just to drop in there and push the pin out. Now, is it retained? Nope. So this bolt from the front body pin then has got a flat edge on it there. You can see that flat edge. That corresponds to that flat edge there. So we're going to keep that and its little screw together. And then I'm going to separate these out. It kind of looks like a Jingong gearbox shell. So there is our hop unit, standard Spectre. I'm guessing the Spectre barrel as well. That said, I do think I would argue that that is a maple leaf hop rubber in there, which is quite nice if that is, because they are particularly good at getting things out to range. So I would suggest that that is a maple leaf hop rubber. I'll just put it fully back on again. So the barrel is clean. That is the hop fully on. I mean, it barely took anything at all to hop the 2.5s that I was flying through it. And that is it fully on there. So I would assume there's quite some weight can be hopped through that. So it is rolled down to apply hop, roll up to remove hop. So I'll drop that back in there. That just slides in and it sits on its spring and it should remain springy like that. Get that out of the way. The charging handle assembly is fine. So next thing, I'm just going to pull down on this tab and slide the stock all the way off. And we have got 6 position stock, which is quite nice. So I'm going to get my long Phillips head to go down into there. There we go. That sounds a bit disconcerting, doesn't it? So undo that. These are just normal threaded screws now. Just going to drop that out there comes the screw. Just need the retainer there we go, it's wedged in. So there's the retainer. So this sits down in the tube. The screw sits in the top of it like that, and there is a ridge inside of here that this goes up against, and the whole carve out in the bottom is to allow the wiring through. So I'm just going to pull that gently off, and if we look down there, you can see there is a ridge down towards the bottom there. That is the ridge that the retainer goes against. So I'll get those out of the way for now. There's our sling plate to remember for later. Get that out of the way. Next thing I'm going to do is, it does say spec on the side, but it looks suspiciously like a Jingong gearbox. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the pistol grip off. Just get my short one. Again, Phylax head screws on the base plate here. There's one screw. Now, these two screws are different that are holding the base plate in. So we've got longer one goes in at the back, and there's a significantly shorter one that went in at the front. Now that should just get that in there and just wiggle that about. There we go. So that jumps up. So we've got in there our motor. So the black wire is coming up the back, round and sitting on the front. The red wire is connected at the back and it drops down that side of the pistol grip. So obviously when you're reassembling, keep that in mind. I will remind you myself though when we're doing the reassembly element of this video. So that's that out of the way. Get hold of the motor. Now I don't recall, that motor looks like an XT motor, so it is a 28 TPA CNC cover 1900 RPM a Qi high motor in there. That is a nice looking motor. It looks well machined. So that is the motor it's an upgrade from, and it is the Phylax Customs motor as well, which is the first of the hot rubber we saw was an upgrade as well. So we've then got two Phylax heads in the bottom here. We've got one at this bottom corner and one at this top corner here. So I'm just going to drop those out. That's one. Again, when you're taking things out, make sure you keep them together in relevant piles, just because it makes life so much easier. That screw has happened to stay in there because I could pull the grip up. So the grip just pulls up. What I'm not doing is I'm not yanking, because these spade head connectors at the end, because they're hooked, if I pull too hard and I catch and rip one off, then I've got hassle of trying to obviously reset that. Next thing I'm going to do is try and undo this rear body bolt. Again, I've just been able to use Torx 15 in there, this rear pin, and that's just dropping straight out. Screw that together. This one, by comparison to the front body pin, does not have a D shape. It's just a complete circle. So keep that in mind. Put that over there. Next, we've got the mag release to go. So I'll just get a smaller Phylax head in there, because it's a good choice. There's a little Phylax head in there, because they're not a pain then to get rid of. Dropping away. So there's our button with our little screw in it. Get that out. There's our spring. The mag release drops out the bottom. So all I'm just trying to identify now is which side has got the teeth on. I think it's that side. So I've got the trigger pin here. So just push it a little bit. No, push it the other way. Just take that off camera a second. So the teeth then were on this left hand side. So I'm just going to lift that up. Last thing I'm going to do before I try yanking the gearbox out is the lever that comes from the bolt release to this catch here just needs pushing out. So I'm just going to get this thin Torx head here. I'm just going to push that, and I can see the teeth were right there. Pull that out. That was nice and easy. This now, if I push down on I'm pushing down on it from there, and I'm pulling across, and it just comes straight out nice and easy. Our gearbox then should just lift, and it does lift up and out nice and easy. Now I've seen this bit, it is less like a traditional Jingong gearbox. So we have got bearing based, the selector's actually dropping off. I can see the sticker on the back of the selector there. We've got bearing based bearings for the gears there. We've got our quick change spring there. So I'm just going to sink that in. So it should just be push in, quarter turn, and out it comes. Just very solid metal covered in grease as well. And there is our spring. So then we've got our gearboxes, all the pressure's gone. So now I can just remove these Torx head screws that are in here. Oh, no, they're actually Torx head one. I'm guessing a 10. Let's try a 10. It is not. Losing my touch, it looks like it was a Torx 8 on this occasion. So we're going to remove the top ones, which are all identical. I've said this a few times. I've had comments about people saying I'm clumsy and why aren't I using certain tools and things like that. And yes, I am clumsy naturally, but I'm made even more clumsy by a lot of this, trying to do it, holding it close to the camera to get the best possible view for you guys so that you can see clearly, because the autofocus is a bit wappy at times on this. And I'm leaning forward over a table as well, so I am clumsy. I won't deny that. What I'm also doing is using generic sets of tools that most people should have to show you that you don't need necessarily specialist things. So we're on to the bottom set of screws then. So it looks like, when this one comes out, so this one, the front one then, is one type of screw, and then we've got this screw, and this screw under here is a different type of screw. Now what I've just thought of we need to remove first is this little cut off here. We're going to remove this, and it is on a spring, so I'm just going to remove the Phillips screw. That wasn't very tight in there, that's fine. And I'm going to carefully lift that up. There is the spring under there. Now we'll discuss putting that back together at the reassembly point, but it does mean I can get the rest of the screws out now quickly and easily. So the ones that are identical are the same length. So this one, and this one are all, nope, they're all the same length. This one, which doesn't want to come up and out, you're out. And this one should be the same length, but we'll have a look in a second. There we go. There we go. So there's our gearbox. There's the anti-reversal latch, which we'll look at in a minute. Good effort at greasing. We've got our Titan in there. There goes our spring. So we've got piston, aluminium head. Wow, okay. It's almost Swiss cheese. Missing tooth completely to help with the sort of engagement and things. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at air compression then. So it is vented, so finger on the top. What I'm looking for is I can only get the piston so far past this gap, and then holding the air in should lock up. And it does that. Excellent air compression. The air nozzle is a double O-ring air nozzle. Hopefully you can just about see those two O-rings in there. So I should get, well, not quite equally good, but you can hear the air leaking. But it's taking some real force for me to get that air to leak. That is excellent compression. So I'm happy with that. The gear set, an attempt has been made at shimming. There are shims about in there, which is good. There's the anti-reversal latch. We'll have a look at that in a second. I'll lift the top part of the Titan up. So the Titan has been fitted, obviously well because it's working, but it is region locked. The gear set is obviously greased up quite nicely. Put that back down. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to reassemble this. So I'm just going to drop that in. Now the anti-reversal latch sits on a little spring. So it's axis, the shaft it's on, basically, hold it like that. The short end is down, the taller end goes up. So if you look into your gearbox, the shorter end should be down, the tall end should be up. Now what I've got to do is I've locked, what I'm doing is I've opened it up because it's obviously working against its spring, and then I'm holding my thumb with a lot of force to angle it slightly, which is not entirely working. I can see it moving, whilst I drop in this gear. Do you know what? Let's just put it on the desk. There we go. So what I'm doing is, just before I start rebuilding, I'm making sure that the teeth on the sector gear are not interacting with the piston, because that's going to cause issues. And I'm making sure that the catch to pull back on the tappet plate is also not ready to do it again, so it's not causing issues. So this spring hooks on the front of the tappet plate here, and this hoop goes on a peg here at the front. Fold that Phylax sticker out of the way. I'm going to then drop that in, and I'm pulling back. There we go. And this lug here sits, there's one for that lug there, that hole there, there's one on the inside, and what I'm just feeling is that the cylinder is flush with the edges of the gearbox, which it is. Everything's sat in there nice. It's helpful that the spring is not in there to add compression to the issues as well. And I'm just going to put it on at the front, and I'm just going to roll it backwards. Now it might be like this, where some of the things, just because of the pressure, are moving, so I'm just going to use a thin screwdriver just to position them a little bit better. And there we go. No, not quite. Do you know what? I know what it is. The piston's not sat right. Come on, Pheas, that's poor, that. And then all hell breaks loose, because then the anti-reversal latch has popped and gears come out. So just reposition those shims, make sure they're not free floating, because they can get chewed up and damage stuff. Right, that's in. This we can put back on in a second. Roll it on at the front. Oh wait, that's jumping. Why are you out of place? In place. Okay, I'm just checking positioning for everything, making sure it's where it should be. Now I'm going to roll it on. Now it's not quite, is it because of that? Something is not quite in its right place. There we go. Looked like the piston had just shifted slightly, so its teeth were pushing on the track that it should run on. But still not there. There we go. There we go. So what I'm looking for is that the cylinder is flush to the edge of the gearbox casing. I'm looking for basically that there's no sort of blatantly obvious gaps anywhere, that it's gone back down flush, which it has. So now that we've got that, we can now put the screws back in. I did say that these two screws were the same length. They are not. I have lied. So we've got a short one that's come out from there and a long one that's come out from the back. So I'm just going to drop that in and drop that in. So again, these are Torx 8. one. Remember, if you're having to force a screw in with a lot of pressure, then it's not in its threads and you're going to damage something. So the best thing you can do is, when you drop the screws in, is roll them backwards a little bit until you get the click, and then go forwards. You know it's just dropped into the correct threads. Again, roll backwards and then forwards. Front one in, roll it back, click, forwards. So next thing we're going to do is going to look at putting this bit on before I put the top screws on. So there is a tiny little spring to this, and there it is, and it just sits in there like that. On the back side of here is a little lip there that's going to push on that spring. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rest the little latch on top of the spring, compressing it down and dropping that onto there. Wow, I can't believe that actually went on first time. And then I'm just going to, again, floating in the air, drop that little screw in there. I'm just going to tighten it down with the Phillips head. Now I don't want it too tight that it's a pain to move, and it should relatively easily move. There we go, I had it touched too tight. Tight enough that it won't unwind. There we go, that's better. So that's that one in. So we're going to do the screws across the top. We'll replace the selector plate in a second. One. Two. 3, 4, all in. So flip it over, select a plate, then we just bring it in at the front and it just slides into these railings like that, nice and easy. Next we'll bring in the spring and spring guide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the appropriate spring now. Okay, so Pheas basically made a boo-boo there, and basically did several things without realising he'd stopped recording. So what I did was put the spring in. It's a non-linear spring like this one. So basically we've got an area in the middle that's a bit more tighter compressed, an area at the end that's a bit more tighter compressed. So that is where the spring guide goes. That sits in the middle, and that goes into the back. So we slid the spring and spring guide in, and we quarter turned it, and it locked back into place. I've dropped the gearbox then back into the body. I've put the back body pin in, just finger tightened that down for now, just to keep it safe. We dropped the bolt release button through, the rod through the mag well, and hooked it into the little hole. So now when I press it, I can see it's moving that. We're just dropping the mag release in from this side. I'm going to keep my finger on it whilst I then drop the spring in from this side. I need the button and the screw from this side. Now on this one, it doesn't matter which way up this goes as long as it's lined up with the hole that it's in. So I've just got my fingernail literally set on the edge of it, just holding it in place, and I'm just going to find those threads. In fact, I'll let go. There we go, found those threads. Get that started. Now I'll push that back down on its on the end of that connector. Tighten that screw down. There we go, nice and sorted. Next thing, I'm going to bring the trigger pin in, and the teeth were on this left hand side. So again, what I'm looking for, push that back out just to show you, is I'm making sure when I look down through that hole, I can see straight through it cleanly, that there's nothing impeding it. If there's something blocking that hole, make sure it's not your gearbox just moving about a little bit, which it could be, but it could be something inside that's out of place and position. If you go driving that through, particularly with the gate tighten, you're probably going to wreck part of the circuit board, if not the whole circuit board, by doing that. So just obviously keep that in mind. Next thing, we're going to bring the pistol grip. Now, one of the screws is already in, the top left-hand corner one for us. So I'm just going to delicately feed the black wire in there and up. The red wire comes in at the back. So there's 3 main holes across the middle. And on this disassembly, the red came in at the front one, the black came in at the front, the red came in at the back, and we're going to screw that down. Now with this one, the black wire, there we go, is going to come round to the back of the pistol grip. So that's one screw in. Get the next screw. So I've got the screw on. Drop the screw in. Oops. So the main middle hole should be completely clear. What I've also made sure is that the wires are not like left folded underneath here, because if I screw this down on top of them crimped underneath, I run the risk of actually breaking the wiring completely, and then your gate tighten's broken, isn't it? So what I've done is I'm just pulling the red wire to the left of this post in the middle, the black wire technically to the right of it. Although it's upside down, so it would be reversed if it was all the way up. So I'm just making sure that the black wire, if you can see it, is running round out of the way of that middle hole. And I'm going to bring in the motor now. So the red connection goes at the back. The blue is actually the negative connection. So I'm just making sure that it's springing there, which it is. Just going to push the red on. Manipulate that a bit so I can get the black on. There we go. That's the black on. And then we're going to bring the end cap in, base plate on. I'm just going to make sure that those are not in the way. Now this, the big meaty screw in the middle, sits right on the end of this. So we just drop it on like that, and we're just springing it down. Now I don't know if you remember or not, but there was 2 screws. The bigger one goes in the back. There we go. Remember, going backwards to find those threads and then forwards. Little screw in the front. That's tightened down. There we go. Next stage then, we're nearly done. Bring in the sling plate. Now, on this one, it was orientated like this. I think generally speaking, that's how it should go. So we've got the double loop on the left, the single on the right. Wouldn't matter if you flipped it around the other way, I am sure. So we're just going to feed the wire in like that, and drop that onto the 2 lugs. And then we're just going to get this retaining lug and screw, and I'm going to drop those in there. I'm just going to, oh my lord, that I can't believe that actually dropped perfectly exactly how I wanted it. So all I need to do is put the screwdriver in the end of the screw. Just going to move it about, and there is my click. So I just dropped it into the threads it needs to go in. I'm now tightening it down. I've pulled up slightly on the stock tube. I can feel it getting tightened down and pulled down. And there we go. That's nice and tight now. I can fold the wire in up into there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to coil it a little bit like that. Next job, I'm going to bring the stock in, pull down the tab, slide it on. I'm going to bring the upper in. Again, I'm going to slide that on. It's nice and easy. Line everything up. There we go. I just had to wiggle it about. This was just catching on there. It was just needed twisting into position. And then I'm going to grab the front bolt. I'm going to drop that in there where there is that flat section there. Flip it over. bit bigger. I'm going to go back to the Torx 15. I'm going to tighten that down. I'm going to tighten the rear one down. If I wanted to, I could put the butt plate back on again, but I don't. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring back in the cap. I'm going to switch for the black one. So I brought the black one in. Again, it's negative, so tightening it down is the opposite to what you would normally do for anything else. I'm going to bring it round so get the set screw at the bottom, like that. I'm going to bring the set screw back in. It doesn't want to keep falling about. I'm going to set that back in. There we go. And that's it. We have done a disassembly and reassembly to help you with your repairs and maintenance. I hope you found that useful. I've quite enjoyed that. It's pretty solidly built. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.